What's up everybody, Sean here and thank you for joining me. Today we will be reviewing the new Orient Kamasu. But before we get started, let's check out what I have on the wrist today, and that is the G-Steel G-Shock. This is actually quite an amazing little watch here, not very little actually, and I will definitely be doing a review on this soon. But that's not what today is about. Today we are going to talk about the Kamasu. So when the original Kamasu first came out, it was everything that the Mako and the Ray wanted to be. It was basically a sapphire glass version of those two watches with a different dial and a minutely different case, and it proved to be immensely popular. At the time, however, I wasn't really a fan of the Kamasu dial, and I much preferred the numeraled dial of the Mako or the round indices of the Ray. Also, recognizing that more than half of my collection consisted of dive watches, I decided that I would not be getting any more dive watches for the time being. And then this bugger came along. So this Kamasu is pretty much identical to the original one. It comes in a case size of 41.8mm, a lug-to-lug of 46.8mm, and a lug width of 22mm. It is a stainless steel case with a stainless steel bracelet, and the standout feature being the AR coated sapphire glass. It also features a screw down stainless steel case back for a water resistance rating of 200 meters. We have an F6922 movement in the back, which features self-winding, hand-winding, and hacking with a power reserve of 40 hours. Recommended retail price at 429 Singapore dollars, and there is a limited edition one that goes for $479. Now, Orient launched this new line of watches as a vintage style diver, utilizing their signature color gradation dials that they have become known for. Although the Kamasu name was never official, but in fact a community given name, the fact that this new line of divers utilizes the exact same case, bezel, crystal, movement, and even bracelet of the original Kamasu, it only seems fitting to recognize this watch as the Generation 2 Kamasu. It should be noted, however, that just like the original, this is not an ISO dive watch. It comes in 4 different designs, 3 standard models in grey, blue-green, and blue gradation dials, and a 2000 piece limited edition burgundy dial in a copper plated case. The 3 standard models come on a stainless steel bracelet, while the limited edition comes on a vintage style leather strap. The model that I'm reviewing today is the grey one. This piece I personally bought with my own money from the local distributor, Big Time Singapore, and it's not a sponsored product by them. So let's get onto the watch and see what it's all about. So the Kamasu wears very comfortably on my 6.25 inch wrist, much the same way the Mako and Ray did, but somewhat nicer. I believe it's probably due to the lug design on the Kamasu that gives it a slightly more spread out feel compared to the Mako and the Ray. It does look and feel a bit more refined as well. So while the case is identical to the original, they have changed up the finishing a tiny bit. Instead of a brush top with polished sides like the original, it now sports a brush top with brush sides and a polished edge in between. While not quite at the level of the higher end Orient stars, this polished edge does add a little bit of refinement over the previous model. The case back is the same as before, polished stainless steel screw down with their signature dolphin motif on the back. The crown guards are compact, just like the Orient Mako and the Ray, but they do flare out away slightly from the crown. The sign screw-down crown was one of the most criticized areas of the original Kamasu, and it doesn't appear to have changed for the Generation 2. It is still lacking in size, making it noticeably harder to operate, especially if you have stubbier fingers or happen to be wearing gloves. But apart from the size, crown operation feels smooth and solid. Now, the biggest feature that the Kamasu has over the Mako and the Ray is undoubtedly this AR coated sapphire glass. And not only is it sapphire, it is also recessed beneath the bezel as compared to the raised crystal on the Mako and the Ray. Because of this, you get a nice touch more protection against accidental knocks and scrapes. All these features together combine to give you a 200 meter or 20 bar water resistance, making it perfectly capable of going for a swim. The bezel is also one area that is a step up from the Mako and Ray line. While the Mako and Ray have had their bezel upgraded to 120 clicks over the original 60 clicks on the first generation, the Kamasu matches this 120 clicks and goes a step further in terms of tactility. The Kamasu bezel is less angled downwards, which results in actually a more substantial surface area for you to grip the coin edge with, making it noticeably easier to turn and operate. Again, this is the same bezel design as the Generation 1 Kamasu, so existing owners won't be seeing any upgrade in this area. The only change here is that the new one now sports a two-tone color bezel as compared to the single-tone color of the original. Now my bezel, although it's not exactly off, it does line up ever so slightly to the left of the travel clock marker. I have though seen others that do line up perfectly. Now this dial is the most substantial change over the original Kamasu, as it has a completely different set of applied markers and a gradation dial. Gone are the rectangular indices, which are now substituted by mostly circular indices with rectangles at the 6 and 9 o'clock position and a cutoff triangle at the 12 o'clock. It is actually very reminiscent of the Ray, or some might say Submariner. Like the original, we have a day date cutout that is surrounded by a polished frame covering the 3 o'clock position, and the Orient crest logo sits beneath the 12 o'clock marker. Now this grey gradation face is really a sight to behold. I'm not sure if you can see it properly on camera. Maybe right there, you can see it. Yeah, but you really should see it in person to really understand how good this actually looks. On top of a textured surface, it gently transforms from a light grey in the center all the way to a deep black along the extreme edge of the dial. Now depending on the lighting, it can sometimes even appear brown, almost root beer-like in color at some times. The lume is plentiful and very visible in the dark, much like how the dial is also highly visible in the day, and this makes it hands down to watch through and through. This one also features the same Orient caliber F6922 movement found on the original, as well as many of their modern sports watches, including the Mako and the Ray. I've often raved about this movement before, and there's frankly not much I can criticize about it at this price point. It hacks, hand winds, self winds, has quick set day and date function, and is accurate to -15 to +25 seconds per day. Now, while I don't religiously record the performance of these movements on a daily basis, I've spent enough time with enough of these to tell you that the 40-hour power reserve is about there, and that I tend to get a pretty good accuracy of between +6 to +12 seconds per day across the board on these movements. Now about that bracelet, for those of you not familiar, Orient stock bracelets have often been a point of criticism, especially on their entry-level divers. While they aren't by any means bad, especially for the price point, they do leave a bit to be desired by the more discerning buyer. It is for this reason that I had actually prepared a third-party bracelet prior to my purchase of this watch. However, when I put it on for the first time with the stock bracelet, I was pleasantly surprised. This Generation 2 shares the same bracelet as the original one, which features folded end links, a brush finish with a sign stamp clasp that is polished on the sides and has 4 micro adjustments for you. Now, I had never tried one on prior to this though, and my past experience had been with the Makos and the Rays, so you can imagine my surprise when, despite also having folded end links and a stamp clasp just like the Mako and Ray bracelets, it actually felt noticeably smoother and more comfortable on the wrist. So much so that I eventually kept the bracelet on, as I felt it would be quite a waste to just chuck it one side. I still can't quite figure out what the difference is, as I can't see any major visual differences, but I highly doubt it's a placebo effect. Because of the folded end links, however, it does rattle a bit, if you can hear it there, which could be off-putting to some. I do, however, like the sound of the rattle, as it does remind me of the sound of armor clinking about. Although I know that many people have swapped them out for a strap coat bracelet with custom solid end links, and I do intend to try one out and compare them in the near future, so keep a lookout for that review. Well, needless to say, I absolutely love this watch. So much so that it's actually taken over my Orient Defender 2 as my daily go-to, the one that I decide to grab when I can't or don't have the time to decide on what to wear. The dial refresh really did it for me and has caused me to expand my diver collection beyond what I originally intended it to. Sounds familiar, right? I do know, however, that there are still many people who do prefer the previous generation dial due to its more unique look. And if you are in that camp, you'll be happy to know that those models are still available to purchase and at a slightly lower list price of $339 too. Of course, you'll probably not have to pay full retail for these as generous discounts are regularly given by the dealers of Orient watches, which really does make this watch even more of a no-brainer. For the price even at pre-discount, you get a reputable brand with decades of experience, incredible build quality and finishing for the price, a sapphire glass crystal, and a proven in-house movement. I'd really be hard-pressed to find a better value than this. So that wraps up today's review. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.